Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of The Expendable Show. It's Sunday. Well, I kind of came out like I've been drinking or something. It was a little slurry, like this week's episode. But today, first, if you like my show, like, subscribe, and ding the bell. I'm going to do this twice a week, Wednesdays, Sundays. And we're just going to go over like some of the news. Most of the news that I report is stuff that the major media doesn't support. Because it doesn't fit in their narratives or whatever. I generally watch several different countries' news. One, because I contribute a lot to several companies' news or several countries' news, India and Pakistan for two. So I try to be as well-rounded as possible and kind of look at things from as many angles as I can, to give you guys a better kind of idea of what's going on around town. This thing's just not cooperating with me today. It's casting a shadow. I don't like it. So Pam Bondi, she made an announcement that she has the Epstein files on her desk. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen out of that. I'm ready to go. Let's get something rolling with this whole Epstein files thing. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so let's get the Epstein files going. This is important. I'm tired of waiting. So let's do it. Get it over with. Next, I'm going to introduce everyone to my new the love of my life, my new girlfriend. Just kidding. That's the that's the governor of Maine, Janet Mills. So she's been a big headliner. Probably the first time a Maine mayor has ever been a headliner in the news. So Trump had a meeting at the White House where pretty much the majority of the governors were there. Okay, so Trump, there's a backstory to this, and Trump was evidently they had already had a little spat over this. So Trump decided to take advantage of the TV cameras and put her on blast in front of everybody. So Trump basically called her out. So to give you kind of the story, Maine has been verbally saying they're going to defy Trump's executive order banning men from competing in women's sports. Most of the major news medias are saying that this is a 70-30 issue, 80-20. So that's a loser for Janet Mills. She's in the minority, and the majority of Americans are disagreeing with her stance on the transgenders participating in women's sports. Personally, I don't want them in there. I think we fought way too hard for women's rights in Title IX for them to just insert biological men. I don't like it. I think it's a cheat to women. And I want to see women competitors. I want to see women, in the same ballpark, be able to compete against each other. I don't want to look up there and go, oh, well, one of them was a transgender, so that's why they're standing on the number one podium. I don't like that. I think it's wrong, and we shouldn't be encouraging that as a society. I think if they're going to do this whole transgender thing, they need to have their own category, and kind of keep the men and the women separated. I mean, as a wrestler in high school, I mean, I've wrestled girls before, but I knew they were girls, and they took their lumps just like a dude would. But now that women's wrestling has become a popular sport, they have their own category now for the most part. I think a lot of the states now have girls wrestling teams. So I think they have to have their own category. I don't like that transgenders are trying to compete in women's sports. I do feel like it's an unfair advantage. It would be like if I wanted to, I'm going to go back to college and I'm going to compete as a female wrestler. I'm never going to lose. Never. It's not fair. I have a distinct advantage over the women. Yeah, they're gonna put up a good fight, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna have just as much skill as them, but I'm gonna be stronger, and I'm probably gonna be just a hair faster. So it's not gonna be fair. Just like what we've seen in with the whole Riley Gaines and the Leah Thomas thing. Leah Thomas or whatever his dude name was, he was just an average swimmer, and then he goes over to the girls division and wins the national championship. That's not right. So I mean, we can continue on and on and on about the transgender rights, but let's get into Donald Trump making fun of Janet Mills, because that's what matters, making fun of her. So Trump called out. He said, "Hey, is Janet Mills here?" And she's like, "Yeah." And they were talking about the transgender, competing in women's sports. And he said, "Well, are you going to comply with my executive order?" And she said, "I'm complying with state and federal laws." So Trump replied, "Well, we are the federal law. You better do it. You better do it, because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't." And then Trump went on to say, "Oh, by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply, because otherwise you're not going to get any federal funding." I mean, he was just riding her. And then Mills yelled out, "We'll see you in court." And then Trump lashed out and said, "Good, I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one. And enjoy your life after governor, because I don't think you'll be in elected politics." So that's where we're at with that. And, Trump's going to say what he's going to say. She's got to get on board, because she's on the loser side of this issue. And I feel bad for the people in Maine, because they're the ones that are going to suffer, because their governor isn't competent enough to make a solid decision based upon her constituency. It's a typical politician issue. They go off of what their own belief systems is and ignores their constituency. I don't care if you're a Republican or Democrat. If your constituency is saying, "Hey, we're Democrats and we're going to vote for you, but don't stand by we don't want women, we don't want dudes in our women's sports." That's the only thing. As governor, I don't care if you are 100% progressive socialist. Your constituency says, "Do it this way." So that's the way you're supposed to do it. You're ruled by the people. So for Janet Mills to just take it upon herself to make the decision based upon her constituency is asinine. And we have so many politicians doing that. And I've asked my dad this before. And I've said, "Hey, when was the last time you got polled by a politician?" I have never been polled. Never. They don't poll me. And I've asked this of several other people, like, when's the last time your politicians polled you? And a lot of people have said they've never been polled. So that just tells me that our politicians are acting on their own behalf and not on the behalf of their constituency, because they have not even worked to compile the data of their constituency. This right here is the exact case that makes that out. She's not acting on the best interest of her constituency. She's not polling her people. She doesn't know what they want. And generally, liberals don't want to look at polls that negatively affect them. They just ignore them, or they'll say the polls are skewered. Whatever. So Mills did put out a statement after the event. She said the state of Maine will not be intimidated by the president's threats. And then she went on to say, if the president attempts to unilaterally deprive Maine school children of the benefit of federal funding, my administration and the Attorney General will take all appropriate and necessary legal action to restore that funding and academic opportunity it provides. Wrong. Because Miss Mills, you're not acting on your constituency. And it's an executive order. And this executive order has already been shot down by the Supreme Court. I know, Sarge. I introduced her as my new girlfriend. I was hoping maybe like I would get some really good comments about how beautiful she is, but yeah, I know how to screen share now. Yeah, I've been working on some things. I'm so tech savvy now. I could probably go work for OpenAI, but I would, but they'll probably try to kill me later anyway. That's what they like to do over there. So Janet Mills, she's completely out of touch with her constituency. She doesn't know what she's doing. She's picking a fight. She's going to waste Maine taxpayer monies on a battle that she knows has already been lost in the Supreme Court, but she's going to go try to fight it again anyway, and she's going to lose miserably. So whatever. Maine, that's what you get. You voted for her, and you're stuck with it. Now, I did see that there's a good Republican challenger that's thrown his name in the hat. So hopefully we get somebody a little bit different in there that actually has, a brain. Even though these liberals say that they're the most prestigious thinking people on the earth, however, they all live in a giant wind tunnel. I keep forgetting I have to be careful because I'm an international news celebrity now. Yeah, you know what, Sarge? I had to block Stephen King on X because he is such an idiot that I can't even listen. I can't even read his post anymore. That guy is so far out of reality. I think he's been living in his imagination book writing world way too long. Guy's out of there, man. Can't do it. And you know what? I used to like Stephen King stuff now, but now I automatically don't. He done screwed himself. Another thing. So Elon Musk received a gift. He received a gift from the president of Argentina, whose name is Javier Milei, and it was a chainsaw to help him celebrate all the government cuts. So these guys, they crack me up because um the liberals want to say that, oh, Donald Trump's policies are so unpopular in the globe, but you're seeing so many people supportive internationally of Donald Trump's policies. Here's another one. The president of Argentina is now, joining the party, and that's what we want to see. We're trying to bring these countries together, and you're starting to see that happen. Some of these countries that we generally aren't that friendly with, we're starting to see a little bit more friendliness out of them. So other news, Pope Francis is in critical condition. Last I heard he was resting, but he's still classified as critical condition. They're saying that the way that the Vatican's being so blunt about it is a sign that we may be looking at the Pope's last few days on this earth. I'm personally not a fan of this Pope. I think he's I call him compromise. He's a compromised Pope. I think when he opened up all those gates not too long ago, I think that potentially God is giving him some repercussions for that. So I don't look to see the Pope being around much longer. Sarge, I don't know, man. So Pope Benedict, that was the Pope before Francis, that he quit after a short amount of time. I think he saw what he was going to be told to walk into, and he was like, I can't do this. So I do think there are some good people in the Vatican, but do I think they're going to elect a good person to be the Pope, to represent, to be the vessel of God? I'm not so sold on that. I just think that there's a lot of corruption in the Vatican. I think they need to go through their own purge and get back to purifying the church. They're just not in touch with reality anymore. It doesn't seem like. So my dad says he has kidney failure. Um, we're not going to see him around much longer. I just don't. I don't see it. We're going to be burying the Pope here pretty soon. Yeah, Sarge, I think we're in a tough spot with the Pope. I don't know if there's anybody really that's going to be worth putting in there. I don't know. I might be wrong. So I'm going to bring something up that has been brewing. So as President Trump has been, kind of backing us out of this Ukraine situation, and it's made Europe go into a panic. Everybody kind of knows what's going on there. They're starting to round up funds, and well, now they've kind of stepped it up a little bit. So England and France, they're planning to send about 30,000 troops. They're calling them peacekeepers to Ukraine. As we all know, nothing that Europe does is peaceful. Those are going to be there to agitate. They are going to instigate World War III if this happens. So I would like to see this not happen. I don't know if Trump can get this ceasefire done ahead of time or quick enough. And he needs to put his foot down and tell Europe and the rest of these idiots over there to stay out of there. It's not going to help. Anybody who has a brain knows that as soon as those boots hit those grounds, it's going to instigate Russia. It's going to enhance that situation, and things are going to get worse. I would think that Putin is probably going to unleash more. So, like I said, the U.S. and Ukraine, they've been having some ceasefire talks. Keith Kellogg met with Vladimir Zelensky. They say it went well. There is a proposed deal on the table. So the potential deal allows the U.S. to obtain natural resources to offset the taxpayer investment into the war. So the natural resources could be like earth minerals, oil, or whatever else we can get our hands on. The White House is pretty optimistic that a deal can get done this week. Yeah, Sarge, you bring up a really good point. The media keeps telling us how they're dealing massive blows to Putin, but it's hard to see. I just don't see it either. Every time if you're winning this war, you're not going to get on TV all the time and try to recruit more people, ask for more money, ask for more weapons. Like you would think there would be a push, but really you're just seeing Russia hold their ground around that that eastern part of Ukraine, and that's where they're staying. They're not letting Ukraine advance back into that Donbas region and up into the eastern part of the Ukraine. It's just things don't add up. The story the media tells us about Ukraine-Russia war, it doesn't add up. I mean, Trump at least finally comes out and says, there's millions of people that have died over there, a lot of dead soldiers. Now that I've been hearing from a lot of other foreign news agencies, but if you hear our media talk about it on either side of the fence, they keep saying, the Ukraine's only lost about 60,000 people, but Russia's lost around 700,000. Come on, man. That don't make any sense. Not at all. So nice try. That didn't work on me. But in the long run, I really hope a ceasefire gets done here. It's just like I'm hearing a lot of people internationally like, look, these are Ukraine and Russia are like having brothers fighting. You got to let them duke it out, and then eventually they'll be done and they'll shake hands. I think we're in that situation where we need to sit them down and say, hey, you guys, let's end this. Let's get these two brothers together, shake hands. Let's go our separate ways, and let's get this deal done. I mean, there's going to be contingencies and conditions of the ceasefire, and we'll see what those come out to be. I know Russia wants the eastern part of the Ukraine to be able to be independent of Ukraine. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I know that's one of their wants, and Ukraine's wants are, I think they're just as unattainable. I mean, part of the problem, Sarge, is they keep asking Zelensky to go to the negotiation table, and he keeps refusing. Putin has asked at least 6 times now to work out a deal. Zelensky doesn't want any part of it. Now that Trump's involved, he's kind of making everybody. You didn't see this leadership out of the Biden administration. You didn't see this leadership coming out of Europe. Trump basically had to kind of take this on his shoulders and go, well, if no one's going to do it, then I'm going to do it. And I know, and if you have me do it my way, I'm going to make sure America gets something out of it. So, I mean, I see his point of view, and you're going to see all these liberals are going to go, oh, Trump is just trying to steal stuff from Ukraine. No, Biden gave them free money. And Trump is trying to recoup some of that loss, rightfully so. It's my taxpayer money. I didn't vote to fund the Ukraine side of the war. I didn't do that. I want my money back. I want my money to go to troubled school districts or, resources for law enforcement. That's where I want my resources to go, not over to a foreign country that I believe, in my opinion, is in the wrong. Like, I don't want to fund the morally wrong side. Putin's not any better, but Ukraine is corrupt. And the more we see of this, and I think by the time Trump is fully done in office, we're going to find out that this was just a giant Ponzi scheme, that this was just a money funneling. We're going to divert it back here, back there. We're seeing it everywhere. I was just on the Republic News again in India yesterday. They actually woke me up. It was like 11 o'clock at night. And they're like, hey, you want to come on? And I'm like, yeah, I guess. So I had to hurry up and get dressed and get on the news. And because it's their morning. And they have the same concerns in India because they found that money that USAID funneled over to India to interfere in their election process, because that's what the former administrations would do. Obama started the Ukraine war by doing the exact same thing. He sent in people to the USAID, I'll guarantee you, paid for the uprising, which led to basically handpicking Viktor Poroshenko as the Ukraine president. I'll guarantee you, USAID funded that. And so we basically overthrew a pro-Russia president in Ukraine, started a coup, installed Viktor Poroshenko. Poroshenko did his thing, got out. Now we're stuck with Zelensky. So these are Obama handpicked people. And that's all come from funneled money from American taxpayers. We paid for this war to happen. And there's a lot of factual information out there that supports that. This isn't just me creating a theory. It's there. You can look it all up. Obama caused this problem, and now Trump's trying to clean it up. Also in the news, we have so Trump and Trudeau, they've been trading barbs, over this the NHL All-Star break. They did it different this year, and so they basically did like an international tournament. Well, the United States last week upset Canada and beat them after the Canucks decided to boo our national anthem, and that added a little fire to our players. We went out there and beat up 3 Canadians in the first 9 seconds of the game, and then went out there and beat them 3-1. Well, now we're into the finals. Both Canada and the United States made the finals. They played, and it went into overtime. Canada won 3-2. So they're the international NHL champions right now. That's fine. I think for the NHL, it was a great idea to do the tournament like this. I'm all for it. It brought a lot of fire and enthusiasm to it was a lot of enthusiasm for the NHL to do this international tournament. A lot of people were tuned in, and I was tuned in. I was fully vested, and it was fun. I liked it. Hopefully they continue. So after Canada beat the U.S. in the International Hockey Tournament, Trudeau posted on X, "You can't take our country and you can't take our game." Trudeau, quit. So then Trump stated, we have a really good relationship with Canada, just not Trudeau. So then Trump went on to say, yeah, Trudeau, the guy's a loser. He's always been a loser with his radical left policies and his Marxist policies. So Trump has been giving it right back to him. It's a good thing. We need to put Trudeau in his place. We need to liberate Canada of these socialists and Marxists. There's good Canadian people up there that they're getting walked all over right now. So when you look at it, in 2015, when Trudeau first got in as the Canadian Prime Minister, his approval rating was 60%. So at first he was pretty popular, but now in December, his approval rating was 22%. So Trudeau, hey man, you are not as popular as you think you are to be talking that tough to the United States. So it's time for you to go. I definitely think that Canada needs to move in a different direction. They need to do something different because what they're doing isn't working. So hopefully we can get something done with Canada. I don't know who's running against Trudeau. For all I care, it could be the Eskimo from a little igloo village of 5 people. I would vote for that person over Trudeau. But I don't know. I'm sure there's a good conservative candidate out there somewhere that's capable of beating him. Hamas. So Hamas released 6 more hostages. There's problems with that. One of them, I believe, was deceased, and so we don't like seeing that. Hopefully they continue with the hostage releases. They have been complying with that. I think they do take Trump's threats seriously, and I think Trump is being serious when he threatens them. So I think it'd be in Hamas's best interest to abide by Donald Trump's hostage wishes. So let me give you a little tidbit. There's some stuff going on in Congo, and I've been kind of hitting around that things are happening in Congo and in Africa in general. There's a big natural resource roundup going on there, and I wrote about it in my book, The Swiss Effect. So Trump, so basically, the president of Congo has offered a deal to Donald Trump to give the U.S. minerals. They're going to give us minerals in exchange for our help in stopping the fighting in Rwanda. Okay, so we've done the whole Rwanda thing before. So what Trump has done, he's trying to do it the diplomatic way. Well, the Republic of Congo, the DR Congo, that's the one I'm talking about. So Trump has already placed sanctions on an armed group called M23. And the Minister of State for the regional integration, with some guy named James Kabaribi, that supports this armed kind of military group. So that's the problem. This M23 group is a problem. It's causing problems in Rwanda. He also sanctioned another guy named Lawrence Kingston. He's part of the Congo River Alliance group, which is also like a branch of this M23. So both, they're very instrumental in the violence that's going on in Rwanda. Now, this is significant because it solidifies that what I've been telling everyone is true, that there's a mineral roundup going on in Africa. There's a lot of precious metals in the ground. There's a lot of minerals in the ground. There's a lot of resources in Africa. Everybody wants them. And now we're seeing where Trump is going, hey, he's already gone to the Ukraine and said, hey, precious minerals. Now he's here at Congo, precious minerals. So Trump is getting in on that precious minerals roundup. Now, What's the deal with it? I don't know. I don't know for sure. I have theories, but I don't really want to talk on my theories yet until I have a few more pieces of evidence to support my theories. But I do have a theory. However, this is what's happening. Africa is being basically robbed of their minerals again. So we'll see what happens. Same thing that happened, back in World War II. So update on the border czar Homan. So he is basically single-handedly dwindled down the border crossings like exponentially. There's hardly anybody crossing the border. So this week he's going to Boston, Massachusetts, which they are harboring illegals. And so Homan said, this week I'm going to Boston and I'm bringing hell with me. So I expect to see a little bit of resistance, but I do see ICE overcoming that, and they're going to get what they want. They're going to round up some of these people and get them out of here. He said he already found 9 people with major felonies that he's coming to get. They're already in jail waiting to get rounded up. So he's doing a great job. One thing that we need to notice about Trump's cabinet is they're all out there working. This cabinet is not lazy. It's not like, Biden's cabinet where you never knew what they were doing. I didn't know who half of them were. You never ever saw Janet Yellen except for every once in a while. You never saw Pete Buttigieg except for every once in a while. We see Duffy all the time. We're seeing Bessent. He's on TV every day talking about the economy and what they're trying to do. He's being as transparent as humanly possible, probably the most transparent Treasury Secretary I've ever seen. And then you've got Kash Patel's out there doing stuff. Pete Hegseth's out there doing stuff. You're just seeing these guys out there. Kristi Noem's out there. It's happening. So things are happening. Interest rates. So I wanted to cover this because there's a big thing that's, the liberals like, well, these prices. It's Sarge said I said Pete Buttigieg wrong. It's Booty Judge. Booty Judge. I think that is how you say it. Booty Judge. It's Booty Judge. He's probably the best booty judge ever, I would imagine. But interest rates. So let's look at the interest rates from October of 2023. We were at 7.79%. Today's interest rates are 6.85%. So we are seeing things start to lower. Interest rates are lowering. The Dow record was in December, which was 45,073. So we're seeing things start to move. And it's gonna take time. And these liberals need to understand that Rome wasn't built in a day. And you have to allow for the markets to naturally adjust. You can't just make drastic changes and then look at the market and go drastically change for me. It's not going to work like that. You have to give these companies time to make the adjustments within their companies because it's not that easy. So I do see the swing heading in our direction. We're going to be seeing our real wages go up. We're going to be seeing the inflation start to go down. I would be willing to bet by the end of this year, the inflation will be probably under 2%, probably maybe in the 2.5 at the highest. So we'll be within the margins we need to be in. Probably by year 3, we'll be, under 2 solid. So also today they just announced that MSNBC has canceled Joy Reid. Hallelujah. I talked about her in my first book, From the Mouth. And she's the biggest propagandist, race baiter in history. So for her to, I wish Shauna was here because Shauna doesn't like Joy Reid either. So we both make fun of Joy Reid on a regular basis. But I'm glad to see that her show is canceled. She was trash on TV, and I'm sure she's going to get picked up by some other low-level media outlet, and she's going to try to make a comeback and just spew more propaganda and more race hate. She was a divider for sure. Yeah, Sarge, I agree. The View needs to go next. I do think that they're going to start to purge out some of the problem childs of the media because they don't have a choice. The viewership is what matters. They're not going to ride something that's sinking the ship for very long. So I do see that these things are going to start happening because they have to, not because they want to. It's because they're going to have to, or else their channels will go bankrupt. People don't want to watch this stuff. We want to see plans. We want to see stuff moving forward. And all you get out of mainstream media is hate, race baiting, peddling to people's emotions, and just flat out lying propaganda. It is comedy gold because everybody makes fun of them. I agree, Sarge. I agree. So I'm going to give you guys a quick update on my little projects that I've worked on. Like I said, I've been on India's News, The Republic, quite a few times now. I feel like I'm just about a regular on there now. So I've been working with them on that, with USAID, talking about the money parts of it. We're still waiting on several, pieces of information. I think that when Cash gets caught up, when the FBI gets caught up on all the stuff that's probably sitting on his desk, he'll get to, where did that money go? And did it get funneled back or did it get embezzled to somebody? We don't know. We don't know yet. But I'll guarantee you Elon Musk knows. And Kash Patel's probably going to know here pretty soon. So I just wrote another op-ed for this newspaper I work with in Pakistan. And it was basically about they're concerned. Pakistan is a very, very dry country. They only have one river system that runs through there. Now, I have my reservations about the country because they do harbor terrorists quite a bit. However, it is a divided country. Some of the country wants to be peacefully Muslim and the other country wants to be radically Muslim. So it just depends on what side of the fence you're on. The people that I write for, they're very peaceful. They want their country to get back to, just being peaceful and stop with all the shenanigans they got going on. But they have a water shortage problem and they depend on USAID. Now, they asked me to write an article about it, and so I did. And so I looked into it, and they were only getting about $5 million from USAID. And I'm not seeing that as being part of Elon's cuts. So I do think that that funding's probably going to get renewed because it is a yeah, I did say that, Sarge. I did. Not all Muslims are terrorists. So there's this humanitarian thing that we have been doing there for a long time. I think as long as the funding is not $1 billion, I don't think we're going to lose 5 million. However, when I look at it from the other side of the fence, what's the World Health Organization doing? So I looked into that. World Health Organization doesn't donate a single penny to the Pakistan desert water crisis. None. So why can't we pull our 5 million out? They put their 5 million in, and then it's not our problem anymore. We're not the World Health Organization. We're not the world police or the world saviors. We're trying to clean up our own mess. So I think it's something that if the humanitarian efforts need to happen, then let the world humanitarians do it and not just sit around and wait on the United States of America to cut checks. So that's my personal view on it. I try to look at it from several angles just to be fair, even though most things I don't like to be fair on. So I wrote an article about that where, hey, I don't see the funding, even if Trump cuts it off, I think that the World Health Organization should be responsible for coming in and taking care of that. Same thing with some of the really dry areas in Africa that don't have a lot of water supply. World Health Organization. So that is it. I also have been in heavy talks. For those of you that have been following my show with the the Suchir Balaji case I've been working on. So I've been talking to his mom all day. So they have a meeting with the FBI in their district office in California, in San Francisco. I worry about that because I don't know if the FBI has gone through and picked out all the bad guys yet. So I don't trust anything in California. So I'm worried they're not going to get the answers they want. So I do have the ability to reach out to a few people very, very soon that are going to be in my area. And I plan on doing that. I've already reserved my little place at that table. So I have some things I'm going to do, and I can't say it out loud yet because we do have people trying to push back, and we want to make sure we stay ahead of the game. So I'm doing some things. They're doing some things. They've released this entire report. So now, hear me out on this. Make this make sense. The gunshot, the bullet hole trajectory of the suicide was at a downward, right in his forehead, at a downward angle at 45 degrees. Okay? For those of you military people out here, Sarge, 45-degree angle. Let's pretend like this is a handgun. So in order for me to shoot myself in the head at a 45-degree downward angle, I'd have to hold the gun up like this. And then I think it was, I forget what the distance was. I'd have to go back and look at the report that they sent me. But the distance would have put his arm, like I measured it, it's like almost the complete length of my arm. He would have held his hand all the way out here just to shoot himself at a, you know how stupid that looks? Why would somebody shoot themselves like that? When you can just do this, or you can do this, or you can just do this. That makes no sense. And on top of that, the way that he shot himself, he shot and missed his brain entirely. He was still alive. So the evidence doesn't add up. This kid was executed, and it's evident. I'm pretty sure they hit him in the bathroom, drug him out to the living room, I think is what it was, by his hair, because they found pulled hair out on the ground before they took him to the living room. We're talking about the AI whistleblower, Sarge. I'm sorry. I should have been more clear on that. Suchir Balaji, the open AI whistleblower. Their San Francisco medical examiner and the San Francisco Police Department is covering this up and brushing it under the rug. They exerted every time frame to get their report out. They waited till the last second to issue their report on something they ruled a suicide at the very beginning. So they're running around trying to figure out if they were able to cover it up, and then they got the go ahead from somebody, and now they covered it up. But the family's not. I'm telling you, I've got the entire secondary investigation that they had, every note, every detail. That it's not a suicide. I don't care how many times you look at it, it's not a suicide. I think if the FBI looks at this, they're going to go, how did they rule this a suicide? This is absolutely not a suicide. Any cop is going to look at this and say that is not a suicide. You're right. Like, that's what I'm saying, Sarge. Like, there were way easier ways to do it. If you were going to kill yourself, you don't need to do all the extra theatrics. Like, why would you have to do that? Why would you want to do that? If you're going to shoot yourself, just done. Let me hold the gun all the way out here and get it at the right 45-degree downward angle. I mean, it makes no sense. Logically, it makes no sense. This kid was a genius. He was certified genius. And he wouldn't have done all the extra theatrics. This kid was very, very bright. And so there are other things happening that I can't tell you about too, because yeah. But yeah, OpenAI is they're going to get looked at here very, very shortly in the next few days. Just so everybody knows. Dump your stock. There you go. There's my stock tip for you. So that's what we're working on. And big things are about to happen with that case. And I'm very fortunate to be a part of it and to help contribute in whatever way that I can. I basically send emails and call people. So I'm not doing none of the dirty work. Obviously, it's in San Francisco. I got 100 other things going on. I can't be in San Francisco right now. But his mother is bound and determined that she's not going to rest until her son gets his justice, and I don't blame her, because this thing stinks to high heaven. There's too many people involved that have ulterior motives, and they're compromised. And these San Francisco guys, they've been looking out for each other. These California guys, they've been looking out for each other for a long, long time. And I think this is no different. On top of that, Elon Musk says it looks like a murder. Tucker Carlson has said it looks like a murder. Candace Owens has said it looks like a murder. I mean, bro, they found blood in his bathroom. You're going to beat yourself, and there's blunt force trauma on the back of his head. And his body was full of, like, I'd have to get it back up, but he had tranquilizers in his system. There were like 6 different injected things in his body. Come on, man. And no drugs found. It doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense at all. And he had a blood alcohol level of, like, I think it was 0.174, but not a single beer bottle or beer can found in the apartment. And it was during the day. So it's just a little odd. Things just don't quite add up. But that's all I've got for you guys today. And I will be back on Wednesday with a vengeance. Hopefully there's going to be some big news to talk about. If not, I'll probably just make it up. I think my imagination is way more interesting than the real news anyway. But everybody be safe out there, and I'll catch everybody on Wednesday. All right, I'm out. Peace.